I look at our history and the way that we began. The investor-owned utilities refused to serve the rural areas, saying it wasn't profitable. When I think about the fact that a group of people got together 75 years ago, formed their own utility with low-interest loans from the federal government through the REA program, it's just amazing how they built hundreds of miles of line in really a short period of time.
The coming of the rural electric service to the farms was the greatest act within my lifetime for the betterment of farm life. Nothing else was close. And remember, that didn't happen by accident, folks.
They just went through the Depression, and when they were signing people up, it was either $3 or $3.50 a month for service. I think they give them 80 kilowatts or 100 for that. Why, no way in the world I can use that much electricity, you know? About out of coal oil for that.
It was also during the Depression. The idea of this was so impossible in our minds, we couldn't imagine it happening. There were dedicated farmers who went around and sold this program in the early days when it wasn't an easy thing to do.
They were all truly co-op people. Lauren Love was one of them. He went out and solicited original memberships, and he worked very diligently.
One of my buddies who lived a mile west of me, Wayne Harms, worked setting poles for rural electric. They were putting up lines in preparation for electrifying Macoupin County.
Some of the neighbors worked digging, Louis Inke, he's still alive yet. They dug holes, they was all dug by hand. Power come on spring of 1940. And then of course World War II broke out, and some people didn't get it till 1946.
It was really a great feeling to see those poles come marching down the road. But it was progress, and we was going to have lights with switches.
One of the most exciting memories was seeing those workmen come in here with those huge big poles and digging those huge holes, and somehow or the other they got the things up in the air and got them into the hole. And of course we couldn't wait till the wire went into our house because we knew something good was going to happen then.
When you lived on the farm, you had to wash with a washboard and hang your clothes outside. And I used to hang diapers out and they'd freeze before you got them hung up almost. And I had to carry the water a long ways and carry it down the basement and heat it on an old coal oil stove to do my washing. We took a bath in a great big tub. Mom had bathed the 3 little boys, and then I got to take a bath behind the cook stove in the kitchen. Boy, that was fun. And then get into them fresh long underwear and go to bed.
The role of the housewife was really a difficult thing in those days. Without refrigerators, my mother had to go out to our well, and we would put food in a waterproof container like butter primarily, and we'd lower them down to just above the water level, and they would remain cool. So she would have to trudge out there several times a day to get food and then take it back and put it down there again.
We went to the city because we still had relatives, and I think I was a little bit jealous of them. The electricity was there. You didn't have to look for a lamp, or you didn't have to find a match to light it with or carry it along with you to another room. And it was the same way if you needed to go outside. You needed the lantern or a flashlight or something to find your way to the barn or to the bathroom.
When I was a little kid at home, we had a 6-volt battery-operated radio. That was it. We didn't have electricity. The power lines were there, but this was wartime. We couldn't get the wiring to wire the house. So we sat there until 1946 without electricity, although the power line was out there.
We basically existed in semi-darkness. Everybody had homework to do at night. It was difficult to even see because you had to hover around a lamp and maybe somebody else wanted to light. When M.J.M. came in, all of that disappeared because you could have electrical systems to do all these things and gave us a much, much better life than we had before.
When I started at MJM, under Asa Barnes as the general manager, we were in a building on North Broad Street, which was later sold to the Masonic Lodge. We were in basically one big room. Behind it was like a 3-car garage that served as a whole warehouse. I worked with Helen Rossetti. She was the other billing personnel. Gracie Crone was the office secretary. Now, Bina Owens was like a records clerk. And then with the dispatch, and John Allen was over in his corner of the world. And back in the back corners was the engineers. Dave McKee was the staking engineer, and Howard Stultz was the system engineer.
When I went to work for the Cooperative, I was 18 years old, as well as the Cooperative being that age. I started working with Claude McAfee in Brighton.
Claude McAfee was one of the originals, and he was always kind of our idol, because when I was a kid in school, while I was out of power, while Claude had come out, and he was just always kind of a hero to me, because he used to get our lights on.
He dug 6-foot holes, 6 foot deep, and preferably about 18 inches in diameter. You had special jobbers, they called them, to dig the holes with. It was labor intensive. A lot of lines back then were back off the roads, in the woods. You walked in, you carried your stuff in with you. You climbed the poles after you set them. Then you carried your hardware back out with you. The linemen in the areas where they lived also took the outage calls at their homes. There was no answering service or dispatch service. All calls in that area went to the linemen, and it was up to them and their wives to take care of them. In Hillsboro was Ariel Blestra and Doc Bandy. Here in the Carlinville area, there was Howard Bloomfield, Delmer Miller, Jim Hopper, and Preston Barkley.
I went to work September the 3rd, 1962, and I was hired to help Ralph Sides over at Mount Olive. I was hired in as a ground B lineman at $2.40 an hour with insurance. Never had so much money. But the thing that gave me the most satisfaction, I think, was helping people in a time of distress. They were always glad to see you come on the job, and they really appreciated you getting the power back on.
We waited throughout the war for MJM to get to our place, and then the poles started coming down our direction, and of course we go out and check on them every day. The thing that I remember most of all was when all that light came on, what a wonderful thing it was, and we all started applauding.
They turned the lights on one day, and my mom told my aunt in Springfield that we had it. Next day she comes carrying us a toaster. She wanted to buy us something for the new electricity.
Some people have said nothing transformed rural America the way that electricity did. And it's so true. I mean, not only did it make life easier, but it allowed people to make a better living.
Productivity went way up, and we got one of the most efficient agriculture programs in the world here, with the drying of grain and handling of grain and feeding of livestock.
The farmer himself was a big beneficiary of the electrical service. In the old days, you scooped all grain with a great big shovel, and that stuff was heavy. Many farmers ruined their backs forever by doing too much of that when they were young. The electric auger was a great, great lifesaver for everybody.
Soon after we got electricity, then we had bought an electric welder so we could do our own mechanical work, and it made for much more profit when you could do your own welding instead of having to take it someplace else or else buy a new pickup truck every other year.
Electricity changed the whole lifestyle of people. My father milked cows. When we received electricity at the farm, he no longer had to milk them by hand. He purchased a milking system, and he milked about 30 head of cattle by hand twice a day. So it did improve that considerably. Electric water pumps meant that we didn't have to pump water by hand for the dairy cows anymore. That was a chore that us kids took care of. And when you pumped for 30, 40 head of cattle plus hogs, that was a lot of pumping every day.
The biggest thing about getting electricity was getting rid of the outhouse, because you couldn't have a bathroom unless you had a water system, and you couldn't have a water system unless you had electricity for the pump.
When they first got electricity, everybody bought a refrigerator. The appliance dealers done well in the small towns.
It just made it easier for my mother. She always had to hang the butter and the cream and stuff in a bucket down in the well to keep it cool. She went out and bought a used refrigerator, and so we was ready to go.
I think everybody was very grateful, and it just gave them progress.
I think there's a lot of people that don't realize what a co-op is. They're a member and they got to vote in what the co-op is doing. As far as the annual meeting, it's their time to speak up and give their thoughts of what their needs are. Well, I've got high praise for MJM. I think it's been really run good over the years, and we've had some good managers, and we've had some good board members, and some awful good people working for MJM.
We've been very fortunate, I think MJM has, and the directors over the years. They're a very dedicated group. It's rare for a director to miss a board meeting. They take their job very seriously. They take pride in trying to make the best decisions for the members.
Cooperation was really the key. Everybody was willing to help the other, so I always felt like it was a blessing.
Every co-op that I've been involved with has that sense of family. We face some tough times, and there might be times when we'd fuss and fight during the day, but we'd always shake hands and go home friends at night. MJM is that way. It's a great co-op.
And all the people are good people. All the members are good people. That's what gave me the satisfaction of being able to work with people that really cared about their cooperative and what it did for them.
I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy helping them out. It's been such a great experience, and I think that you're appreciated not only by management, you're appreciated by the members.
We went into a right-of-way program that has done wonders for the co-op. We've had people come in later on and thank us because now their power is on a lot more. They don't have blinking lights as much, and MJM's come a long way, and to me it looks like we're just going to keep going forward.
I feel very blessed to be part of this amazing program that is still making a very huge difference in the lives of our members each and every day.
We served an area that nobody else wanted, and there's nothing more rewarding than be working hard and finally get the power back on and the whole countryside lights up again and people are happy again, and you had a part in that.
Every time I hear the word MJM, I just have a feeling of comfort and thanks. They are the ones who saved us and gave such a much, much better life than we had before.